Good evening. Welcome to the City Commission study session. We don't have to do anything else except start on the agenda, right? Correct? Okay. First item on the study agenda is the City of Lansing, DeSoto Road and Eisenhower presentation.
Madam Mayor and Commission, I'm pleased to welcome Lansing City Administrator Tim Vandal and Public Works Director Jeff Rupp here tonight. These gentlemen briefed city staff a while ago now on some plans that they have involving the DeSoto Road and Eisenhower intersection, and then a lot of work south of that. And they asked for the opportunity to come speak to the City Commission, so they're here tonight to go over some other projects with you.
Yeah, thanks for having us here. Like Paul said, I'm the City Administrator and Jeff is the Public Works Director. As you guys have probably heard, Lansing's been talking about the DeSoto Road project for quite a long time. Last year, our City Council decided to scale the project back from a 5-lane project to a 3-lane project. That involved redesigning the road. That's about 75% completed right now, roughly. Right now, I think our financial breakdown looks like about $2 million from federal highway money from a grant we got, I think, around 10 years ago. $200,000 of that is from the Highway Safety Improvement Program. And then about $4.2 million will be the city's share. So we're looking at a $6.4 million project. The reason we're here tonight is because part of the project, is pretty close to Leavenworth, and I think part of it might even go on your right-of-way a little bit. So we've been talking to Paul Kramer and Mike McDonald about it, trying to brief them, and our purpose here tonight is to brief you guys on that now.
Okay.
So Jeff?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of just reiterate what Mr. Vandal said, is that this project did start out as a 5-lane road about 10 years ago, and then through a metamorphosis of desires and, I suppose, financial need, the project was scaled back to a 3-lane project. It is about a mile project, which if you look at this little picture here, it does on the right-hand top side of the picture in red, that's Eisenhower at the top, and it runs back to Ida and then approximately 1,400 feet back to the 7 Mile Creek Bridge. And that's the confines of the scope of the project in length. The blowout there below is an area that we're going to tie into for further development that abuts both Eisenhower and comes off DeSoto. And there's a little bit of a development for that to happen as far as the street construction. The project, like I said, is being reduced from 5 to 3 lanes. It has sidewalk on both sides of the street for the bulk of the project, starting at Ida all the way northward. One thing is the east side is actually a sidewalk / 8-foot trail. So it's a little bit more than just sidewalk. There's a gap also of sidewalk that runs from the little strip mall that's where Ichiban is, that should come all the way to the Eisenhower DeSoto intersection, that it's just missing, and that's going to be replaced or actually filled in as part of this project. This project actually is going to be a 2-phase, 2-season, 2-construction season project, unfortunately. It is going to start down at the southern end and work its way northward. If you're familiar, I think it's just beyond Holiday Drive, about a few hundred feet is where the first phase will end, and then the second phase will pick up all the way to Eisenhower. And as Tim had said, that there's been a lot of changes, not only with the project, but personnel have changed, and I'm sure there's been differences up here at Leavenworth. But back in the early days when all the different discussions were occurring, I think that there was a traffic study done in October of 2010, and out of that study came some recommendations for traffic changes. And one of the things that we're here tonight, because when this was broached to me, since I'm a fairly new person with the City of Lansing, is that there's some changes that are going to happen at the intersection that we wanted to make sure everybody is still aware of, and that came out of that because it became a mandate. What was in that traffic study became a mandate as part from KDOT back to the City of Lansing to include in the project. And it was part of our highway safety improvement funds that we're getting for the project. So I wanted to describe that a little bit, which is on the second sheet that I gave to you. You can kind of look at the black area, and what that represents in the center of the roadway on Eisenhower is a raised median. So what happens there, especially for the gas station, I think it's called Woody's, and then Dillon's, Woody's most westerly ingress egress that comes to Eisenhower, as well as Dillon's most easterly exit that comes to Eisenhower, will no longer be a crossover heading back to the east, because the traffic study showed how many accidents were occurring because of that very thing. So they mandated that portion, and actually most of all of the traffic studies recommendations be included in the project. So that will be a raised median through there, and it actually goes both east and west of the Eisenhower-DeSoto intersection. The intersection will be fully improved, and as what's tried to be represented here is that you've got, if you look at the DeSoto Road section, which is on the south side of Eisenhower, you've got dedicated right and left turn lanes with the center pass-through on the Lansing side. And then as you come from Lansing and into the intersection, there's a dedicated left with two pass-throughs, and of course one of those will be used as a right-through. And then coming back eastbound, you've got a dedicated left turn lane now with two pass-throughs. So that should really help the intersection. There'll be new traffic signals with radar detection, etc. So those are the main points, and I'm trying to think other than I think the schedule, let me give you the schedule. We're going to actually advertise the project, if we hit our target correctly, by December of this calendar year. And so it will begin hopefully in the spring of 2018, and it'll be like I said, two construction seasons.
And I guess one thing that I'll clarify too, the westerly entrance to Dillon's, I don't think will be affected. So that would be still, you could take a left turn if you wanted to out of that one. And also I think the Shrine Park entrances for all of those businesses would still be
Even the gas
available.
That's what I wondered.
Yeah.
They'll be fine
They would.
on Shrine Park.
Woody's, can you exit on the Shrine Park from Woody's? Can't you only exit on the Eisenhower? Or is there is a Shrine Park? They have two exits?
Yeah.
Okay. And so that the easternmost exit at Dillon's, right now just a little bit west of Woody's, you can only turn west when you exit there.
That's the way it will be.
And you can only enter if you're going westbound.
Correct.
And then that westernmost exit, I'm just going from memory, just seems like it's smaller, maybe because that gas station is there. Will they have to make that a little bit bigger? Because it just seems like it's constricted. And that could just be my, the way I see it, because, there's a gas station there, you kind of have to go around and down to exit. It seems pretty narrow.
I don't
could be
really
wrong.
remember if the driveways are affected. I'll look at that and get back to you. But since it'll be a right turn only now, coming out of those two drives, I know that
Well, I
nothing.
thought you said on the westernmost exit at Dillon's, you could turn left.
Yeah, the
or
west
right.
one, they'd be able to turn left, I thought.
Well, the far west one, on
Yeah.
down the hill, yeah, that's
That's
fine.
the one I'm talking about.
Oh, no,
The
that-
one just
Yeah,
right
we
next to the
won't
gas.
be touching that at all.
Will they make it wider? Because it seems to me that it's I haven't measured anything, but it just seems that it's smaller. It might be because there's a gas station right there, and there's a,
Maybe. We'll look into that.
Yeah, we can
I'll
double
get
check
back
the
with you.
measurements on it.
Yeah.
Dillon's may want to make that wider.
Mhm.
Okay.
On your traffic signalization, are these going to be dedicated left-hand turns? Or are they just going to be a green bulb and you fight for it?
No, I'd have to look into that, but I think they're going to be dedicated. I mean, the plans are still being developed, and I don't know how far they've gotten into the signalization part of it yet. But I know they've got a lot of things done, but I don't know exactly how far they've gotten.
Yeah, I would prefer that they're dedicated. I think that would cut down on the traffic accidents. If safety is the goal here.
Yeah.
That seems like a good plan.
Yeah.
So you're going to bid it in, you say December possibly?
That's the
That's what
goal.
we're shooting for.
Right now, we're in the middle of land acquisition and appraisals. and easements.
And you said it starts in the spring of 2018, but there's 2 phases to it? One would be
Yes,
the
there's 2
second?
phases. The phase 1 that runs just north of Holiday Drive from the lower, or the most southern extremities would end, and who knows exactly what the schedule will be, because there's a lot of utilities that have to be moved, et cetera. But if everything's on target, hopefully through this first construction season, phase 1 will be completely done. So it would be just north of Holiday Drive, which is where the second phase begins. It will continue clear through the Eisenhower intersection, which doesn't go a long way from both sides of Eisenhower from DeSoto, but it does take in a significant portion. And we've talked with staff too to make sure we get the medians adjusted as good as we can for things that are going on in both of our cities.
So we'd expect the Leavenworth portion to be done in 2019, right?
Correct. And unfortunately, the road's going to have to be closed through traffic, except for the residents. It'll be open to every resident that lives adjacent to the project throughout. But unfortunately,
Closed on Eisenhower, you mean, or on DeSoto?
just on DeSoto,
Okay.
south of Eisenhower.
Yeah, I can see that.
Just for clarification, because I don't know your city as well as you do, obviously, but go from Holiday Drive south is phase 1, correct? And the southernmost point is at the bottom of that hill, where the hill starts? Is that where it ends?
It actually goes slightly beyond Ida, a little bit past the Catholic Church on
Okay.
DeSoto Road.
Okay.
And just prior to that bridge.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a bridge there, and then it starts going up that
Yeah,
steep
so
hill.
so
It
the
does
bridge
go as far as the hill.
yeah, wouldn't go to the bridge or wouldn't go to the hill.
Okay, got it. How long is it from DeSoto Road to your point? Is it 1,500 feet or 2,500 feet, or do you know right off?
From
This whole
Eisenhower,
construction,
it's a little over a mile.
it is a mile?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions about, yes, no?
Chief wants to say
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Pat Kitchens, Police Chief. Vehicles traveling eastbound on Eisenhower Road are not going to be able to turn into the credit union, is that correct? Credit union is,
From Eisenhower Road, that's correct, yeah.
okay, so the only way you're going to be able to access the main entrance to the credit union is traveling westbound or off of Shrine Park Road, is that correct?
If you're traveling east, I think you'd want to turn left at the intersection, whereas if you're going from DeSoto, you'd want to go straight.
Okay.
So I think you'd have to turn left a little bit earlier than a person would now.
In and out from Shrine Park Road, is there an entrance there?
I believe
small
so.
one?
Yeah. There is.
So is DeSoto Road going to be finished before the Eisenhower, or is it all going to be the same right there in that corner? All at the same time?
Same time.
Same time, 2019.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other issues from our staff? Anything else? Okay.
We'll try to keep Paul and Mike posted on
Great.
everything. And, conversely, if you guys have anything you want to run by us, let us know and we'll try to work with you guys.
Thank
when
you
we
so
can.
much. Thank you for coming.
Is it your
tonight.
place, or would it be your place to talk with Dillon's and the credit union or our police chief? Because, there is some traffic issues there, just to apprise them of the,
My guess, and I don't know, I don't want to speak for them, is usually they'll have some sort of public meeting with the project, but if there being businesses in our city, we'll want to coordinate that with them and make sure that we have a presence as well if they do.
that median there at Dillon's will affect,
Yeah.
there'll be people running over it and tearing out their oil pans for the first couple of months, you know that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very
Thank
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the Havens Park review.
Madam Mayor and Commission, a few of you who were on the commission in 2010 remember a comprehensive sort of, plan for Havens Park that included everything. It wasn't meant for a single project, but of what could be over the years. Due to some budget constraints, Sportsfield Park, other parks projects, not much has happened to that Havens Park plan. We did talk about it during goal setting last year, and while nothing was added as a goal, we did talk about discussing Havens Park at a study session. So that's why we're here today, just to sort of talk about where we are with Havens Park, what we may want to do. We're coming up on goal setting, and as scary as it sounds, we're coming up on budget time again. So just wanted to get Havens Park on your radar and talk about where we are now and if the commission wants to think about what they want to do going forward. So I'll turn it over to Steve.
Thank you, Paul. Madam Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. Just to kind of refamiliarize everybody real quick with Havens Park. Havens Park is a 65-acre tract of land on the northwest portion of the city. A little bit of history, going back to 2010, staff hired a consultant landscape architecture firm to do a master plan for the park. And I believe some of you commissioners were involved with that, as well as our park board. The purpose of that was to lay out a 20-year plus plan based on what the wants and needs and desires of the citizens of Leavenworth and match it up to the park, basically. What does the park offer? What can it accommodate? What do the citizens want? Develop a plan from that, and like I said, it's more of down the road, 20-year roadmap. As money's come available, what can we do? So that was the past in 2010. Since then, we've been able to make some improvements to the park in-house. We've asphalted almost 3/4 of a mile of some of the trails there, 5-foot wide asphalt. We currently have a volunteer group that's been working on.
Do you have that trail map? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. These are the mountain bike trails that the volunteer group has been working on in the park here the last couple years, and they've done a lot of extensive work all up throughout the wooded areas of the park. About 2/3, if you're not real familiar with the park, about the southern 2/3 of it is mostly woods, with some pretty steep grade from the upper end as you head north down to the lower end. And then there's, of course, open area down lower end where we mow and maintain. This group's been working for a couple years, and you can see with all of the trails in there, it's really amazing some of the work they've done there. That's helped us increase some of our usage in the park, which is really kind of our goal, to get more people out there during the daytime using the park for what it's there for. We see with the development of the asphalt trails, we see a lot more walkers. We see a lot more people dog walking out there. Pretty much on a daily basis, you got there. There's a vehicle, if not in the lower area, up on the high side, the road there on the bottom of the picture you see there. That's Shawnee. So Shawnee Street is the upper boundary of the park, and a lot of times you'll see vehicles parked up there, and they're walking the upper area. Another interest we've had a volunteer come forward, excuse me, regarding disc golf at the park. There's still conversations going on with that gentleman. He's soliciting to see if he can get some monies towards possibly developing these, and then if that were to come to fruition, then we would bring it to you all and kind of talk about that. So that's where we are at now. That's kind of the then and the now, and then as Paul alluded to, discussing the possible future. And with that, if there's anything I can answer more regarding the park, or any questions you have, or I open it up to discussion.
Okay. Well, I know that the bathroom there is an eyesore, and it's kind of dangerous. And I think we have some people here tonight that have been interested in working on this park. I know the Lions Club has adopted the park, and they want to make this their heritage project and actually do a lot of things in the park. I know some of the Boy Scout groups have expressed an interest in it. Would somebody like to speak? Would you like to speak, Jan?
Sure. Yes.
Yeah, please introduce yourself here you can set up here at the table if you'd like.
Okay, well, thank you.
Madam Mayor, I'll interject real quick. We do have that restroom under contract to be demoed at this time.
Got it, right, that's right, I forgot about that, okay.
But that's occurred
That's just
recently.
being demolished, okay.
Yes.
Well, thank you for letting me speak. I'm Jan Horvath, and I'm just representing the Lions Club of Leavenworth. Actually, our priority would be knocking down that wreck of a bathroom, because I think it becomes a bit of a hazard for especially kids going into it, but then replacing it with a concrete bathroom, or really just a latrine, but for men and women.
And the military at Fort Leavenworth has already built several of them, or not built them, but has purchased them. And I believe they purchased them with the installation for $27K each. Now, they're just like any other building that's concrete, except they look like they're wood or manufactured from wood. They're very solid. It doesn't mean that an anti-tank rocket couldn't drill a hole through it, but it would take something like that and would destroy a truck if a truck hit it and tried to knock some element of it down. But and they're designed to be connected to a septic system or a sewer. The company pays, or rather has rolled the installation price into their overall price. So they'll build it or put it into place and then connect it to whatever system is there, whether it's a septic system or a sewer. And I believe they'll do that for $27K. You have the plan that I've given you, sir.
Yeah,
and-
what do they look like?
Does that include the footing and the foundation?
Yes, I believe so. Right.
Yeah, now the ones, just to clarify, the ones he's referring to are pit toilets. They do not have running water. They're the type that you would find at a state park, where, as Jan indicated, they either need to be pumped out or hooked to a septic.
And do we have sewer up there?
Yes, it should be
So
sewer.
I mean, thinking out of the box, if you bought this for this lesser money than what we've been spending on some of them, they can be converted to a regular flush toilet.
We don't know because we haven't asked that question.
Well, I mean, all
But
it is
yes,
your pipes are gonna be the same.
Yes, sir.
It's just set a stool on it, put a wax seal in it, and don't put the other stuff in it, and you have to have running water.
Yeah, you'd have to stub in the water lines. With those concrete modular type of facilities, the ones that have running water, they come with
Right.
with everything stubbed into it. And
Because we bought one before for,
we have one, the one at Haymarket Square, and then also the one at the soccer complex.
soccer
Right,
complex is what I
right.
was trying to think.
Right.
yes, sir. And I don't know for sure that that's not the same company, or it may be a different company.
Yeah.
But I know that we can go out to the fort and look at what's built. And I've given this gentleman the plans or the company prospectus and their plans, and they lay out the technical features and also the contact information. So it's easy enough to contact them and ask the questions.
But I agree with you and the Lions that the restroom would be the first priority.
Yeah.
First money spent up there if I had any.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And I agree with that, but would it look like what's at Haymarket Square, the look of what you're describing?
Looks nice.
Quite a bit smaller.
Because, I mean, you described the durability, and I was
Yes.
getting a little concerned, because military durability is very utilitarian.
I've seen some of those on posts made.
Have they? Yeah, and I have
if
not.
I'm here to the wall, yeah, I think it's wood.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they don't look
And
bad.
about a
Okay,
little bit
yeah,
on the edge. I mean, they look.
I'll have to
no,
go
they're
drive
aesthetically
by.
pleasing.
They are?
I mean,
Okay,
they're-
all
They
right.
fit well in a park situation.
Yeah.
Right.
Very much so.
Yeah.
But what we'd like to do is increase the use of the park for families, so that could be children, adults, or seniors, or a mix of that. And I think one of the first things you have to do is put a bathroom in there, so
Yeah.
that, because it is the city's largest park,
Well-
and people can't really go too far there and get
No.
away too much from facilities.
Yeah, that's, to me, that was always like a top priority on the list,
Yeah.
is you
And
have to have
lighting,
restroom,
too.
lighting,
You have
and,
to have
yeah,
lighting.
Right,
yeah,
right,
you know.
and parking.
And parking. It's
ADA
gonna be-
accessibility and all
Yeah,
that.
it's,
that would go along
those
with
are,
it.
that's why I said, when you originally made this plan, and even like if we looked at like under the phase one, really, the beginning of it is the site preparation, the restroom, and providing the parking lot, and then the services that go
Right.
with that. I mean,
Well, and we talked
that's,
about the parking lot too. It's a
Yeah.
paved parking lot. I mean, if you used a rock parking lot to start out with, or even had like, instead of 40 or 50 cars,
Right.
have like 20-car parking lot, because you wouldn't need that big of
Yeah.
a space for parking.
but that's
So
why you could.
cut back on some of those things
Yeah.
to start out with,
And
and
it's-
then
yeah.
add more later. I'd just
Yeah,
like to see
my-
something get,
My goal was to
Started.
not do the entire phase one, but
Right.
even break it down in a chunk and do that portion of phase one. And then I think you'd get a a lot more utilization out of it, because right now, most people are using it for the trail hiking and things
Right.
like that.
Right.
You know, and I think more families would use it if you had a restroom facility out there.
Yes.
We had a pretty good discussion at our park board meeting last Monday regarding it, and that's their general consensus is and that was you know, like I said, that was just kind of a guide. Maybe we take that, we downsize it, we look at, okay, what's possible, what's more prudent, what makes sense, where do we start, and the general consensus from the park board is we just what you said, and don't do anything till we get restroom facilities out there. We're already inviting more people to the park, and we're getting more people to the park, and that's fantastic.
Yes, it is.
The more we have come to that park for the right reasons, the less we'll have come to that park and for the wrong reasons, and that's just true anywhere you go. So starting with a facility, a restroom facility, we can you know, make that smaller. That plan has a similar restroom to what we put at Haymarket Square and the soccer complex, where you have 2 stalls on each side, you have running water, you have a 4-foot pipe chase, you know, you have heat, you have everything. So that, you know, that might be the Cadillac, and that may not fit quite what, you know, what we need out there.
Right.
But I would definitely say it has to come along with some degree of parking and absolutely lighting.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
I agree with that
Yeah.
too. Well, and the Lions Club was talked about, I mean, they have adopted trees there at Havens Park, which is their adopted park, and there's a lot of trees out there, but park benches would be, they've talked also about adopting park benches when somebody passes away in memory of that person they've
Oh,
adopted.
to put those
Different
along the
things. So it'd be
trails.
nice to have
Yeah.
places to sit along those trails too, because they really are beautiful trails. And I think, you know, didn't you say as they've expanded the trails, the chipping that you put down, the wood chipping is provided by the city? I mean, it's from trees, you know, that we have, so it's already there. So it
Yes.
doesn't cost any extra to,
Yeah, we
So
actually had
complete
an
those
Eagle Scout as a
great
project
trails.
one year. We hauled load after load after load in there and dumped it, and his Eagle Scout project was to take it from there. And we did that in all the upper corridor trails, as well as we go through regularly and just prune back trees and mow edges and stuff, just so people can walk through there. So, the general consensus of the park board is to keep that passive use, you know, more of a passive use where you've got bikes and walkers and scouts and stuff like that. And as we continue that, though, I think it starts with providing some sort of facility.
But, so if I may then just conclude, our priorities, at least for the Lions Club, in assisting with Havens Park, is the latrine facility, the parking lot, just a gravel parking lot, just somewhere so people can park off the way or off the road, not block the road, and then thirdly, lighting. Of course, because we've planted a number of memorial trees, and we'll continue to ask permission to do this, but we would also like to put some benches there, and we'll arrange or something, or find a bench that we think is suitable in the sense of it's durable, but it's attractive also, and we can put somebody's name in there and recording that, whoever sponsors it, or to memorialize again the person.
you'd be sure to work with
Yes.
city
Yeah,
staff.
if you've seen the benches at the dog park, if any of them, it'd be something probably similar to those, the composite type.
Yeah,
They're real
yeah.
durable.
Yes, but something
To stay
nice.
consistent.
And it's good for
Those
the
are
city
nice,
too.
yeah.
They are.
Yes. And one other thing is, we actually have sought out Young Sign Company about putting a sign up, having them really make a sign and then putting that up outside the park. I don't recall seeing one there. It probably is, but it's a little worn, weather worn. We'd like to have a metal one that's durable. And so I've asked them to look at both sides or just one side, and
Be sure to coordinate with the city on this.
yes, right. But I just want to
We
let
do
you
have-
know.
We do have signs. yeah.
Yes, ma'am. And I
Yeah.
have spoken with your representative about that, but I haven't come back with the estimate yet.
Yeah,
I owe
and
you that, sir.
the visual of it.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Grant, you said the present bathroom under contract to be removed when?
They said as soon as it's dry enough, which I'm like, how's it not dry enough?
Yeah,
I
it's
know.
not dry enough. If they're saying it's not dry
Yeah,
enough now,
yeah.
Thank
they're
you.
going to get removed
Appreciate
because
it.
it's not going to get any drier.
Yeah, Bob Copen is currently under contract to remove that at his first available date.
So
Yeah.
you see it happening
Yeah, within.
long before summer.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, within the next, in fact, I went out by there today with this warm stretch we have, hoping maybe it was gone.
Okay.
But yeah, sooner rather than later, absolutely.
So what staff will do is, just so everybody's on the same page with the restrooms we're talking about, we're gonna bring some pictures back.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And then it'll be.
Estimates too, maybe.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it'll be a CIP type time that we officially do anything, but we'll have a study session or two about what we're actually looking at putting in.
Great.
Okay.
But I think the direction
Sounds
is to
good.
bring that forward, so I'll
And-
do that.
Any other visitors want to speak on this? Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you,
Okay. All right.
Mr.
Thank you.
Grant, appreciate it. Next item on the agenda, proposed financial policies.
Madam Mayor and Commission, again, included in the City Commission's goals are the introduction of some proposed financial policies for the city. The city had a number of these policies, however, they've been reworked, consolidated, sort of standardized, and our goal is to have them in one place, in one format. Proposed financial goals have a number of uses. They can be used internally for guiding documents, internal control, which is important when you talk about your auditors, commission guidance for them to look at what should and shouldn't be happening, public transparency so the public knows what the city's goals are, bond rating considerations. These are important to have on file for your bond rating, and then in the spirit of best management practices. So tonight we have 3 policies that our finance director is just going to briefly go over, and then we will give you about a month before we bring them back at a commission meeting to adopt, so we can get public feedback if there's anything based on some of the benchmarks we've created or any commission feedback. So Ruby's going to go through these 3 policies briefly, and then if you have any questions.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. The first policy we'd like to talk about is the revenue control policy, and it addresses diversification so that when you look at what revenue streams you have available to you, you can make sure that it's such that the impact of one having an unforeseen consequence doesn't have an adverse effect on all of the city's revenue streams. So you have, for example, when the property values declined the way they did in 2009, the offset would be increase in sales tax. And in 2014, the commission did approve for the city to go out to the vote of the people for a sales tax, and they did the one-cent sales tax at that point in time. So it helps diversify the revenues, and that's one of the areas that has started that. And so this policy really just formalizes some of the practices that are already in place. Another policy that we talked about is the debt management policy. And on page 5 of the debt management policy, under the bond fund.
It's page 40 of your packet.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Maybe we'll look at there. Okay.
There's a paragraph there that says bond fund. And the third full sentence that begins the minimum fund balance, we're going to eliminate that. When I put that in there, I didn't intend for it to read as though we were going to do reserves that way. So
Okay.
the reserve fund paragraph is below that, so we're just going to eliminate that sentence on that. But in 2003, the commission approved a debt management policy. Oh, no, excuse me. The debt management policy addresses some of the statutory restrictions and some of the restrictions that you want to have in place in order to make sure that you have financial sustainability. You don't want to issue more debt than what you're capable of paying for. And we already have Kansas statutes, which places a 30% of assessed value on debt limit, and then you also passed Charter Ordinance 56, which limits how much can be issued for infrastructure improvements. So that was a start in establishing a formal debt policy. And so really these policies are just getting into more detail on what the types of limitations that credit agencies look at, and the fact that the city wants to manage these so that you don't run into financial problems. And then the last policy was a reserve policy, and it addresses our ability to mitigate unforeseen adverse impacts from unforeseen financial problems, such as the flooding or anything that impacts your revenue streams, those kinds of events. So when you have reserves in place, then you help offset those issues. There is a reserve policy already in place that was passed in 2003, and it established 8.33% of the, or 1/12 of your expenditures as a budgetary reserve. And the GFOA currently recommends 16% or 2 months of expenditures, and so that's what this reserve policy proposes, just to increase that, to bring it more in line with what current practices are and best recommended practices from the GFOA. So,
To me, even 60 days seems like a short period of time for reserves.
it is, but you have to start somewhere.
It's like when you're talking about, I mean, not for nonprofits, which
Right.
was nonprofits that reserve was at least like 4 to 6 months, and I'm surprised that it's only 30 or 60 days reserves that
Right.
we would have if some catastrophe happened.
Right.
That was kind of my concern too. I mean, and this is better than where we started from, that's for
Well,
sure.
Sounds
But
like it's twice as much as.
But yeah, and I was wondering, this is a suggested standard, is it covered by statute? And if so, I know that we can't do less if it is, but our policy could be to do more than that, a goal to make it
So if
reserve
we
longer
wanted
than
to,
that,
we could-
yeah.
Is this a minimum then?
It's a minimum recommended by GFOA.
Okay.
If you're talking about statutory limitations, there is a 5% statutory limitation,
Minimum.
but that's
In
for
that-
maximum for non-appropriated cash. So if you turn in a budget and you've got cash in there that you haven't accounted for, the maximum it can be is 5%. But you
Well, that
can.
makes sense, yeah.
Right, but but you can budget to have reserves, and we do that because we would have more than the 5% cash carryover balance.
Right.
So what we currently do, what the current policy addresses is 8.33%, but it's an unappropriated cash balance as opposed to a budgetary budgetary reserve balance. And so there's a difference on that.
Okay.
You're, right now, we're at 1 month, 8.33%, 1/12. And you're saying take it up to basically 2 months, 16%.
As a
not quite.
minimum. Mhm.
And I don't disagree with that, but that's like, and when would you say that would go into effect?
It's a good question. We talked about this. These are guiding documents.
Yeah.
And you pass policies. That's why we don't pass them as an ordinance or resolution. We plan to work toward that.
That's what I was gonna say, because all of a sudden you go like
Yeah,
that.
Right.
you won't see a budget that cuts anything so that we can add to our, we
Right.
hope to organically get there, but keep it in mind.
It's
for-
your
for
goal to
internal
get there,
planning.
Right.
not saying this
More.
is it, because
Exactly.
otherwise.
Exactly right.
Right.
And that's
you're
been
gonna-
done in the past. If you'll look at where our reserves were before the financial crisis, we had reserves to sustain us through those years. where we didn't raise taxes.
Right.
And that's because we had more than 8.33%.
Yeah.
But, we'll consciously work toward that.
Yeah, okay,
Right.
that's my
Right.
question. I don't want
Right.
to say, okay, yeah, that sounds great,
Right.
then all of a sudden, you
Right.
can't spend, you can't
Right.
fix the streets because we've got to build a reserve.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Because that's money we can't touch unless
Right.
who designates when you can touch it?
The reserves, the
Yeah.
commission, when we pass a budget.
Okay, if we have a tornado come through, then you come to us and say we can go to the reserve, or can you tap into it right away?
Well, the reserves would be such that you have a guideline on which you can use those reserves for, such as a tornado coming
Emergency
through.
type
Right.
situations.
The only time it could create a problem is if you wanted to use excess reserves for ongoing routine operations, which isn't recommended, but sometimes,
No, and
sometimes you do that.
That
So a lot
was
of
not
that-
its intent, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's not intended
Right,
for
so a lot of that
reserves,
just
it's emergency.
would be at your discretion. For example, if we have it in there and you want to use it for a certain capital project or something like that, then
Then we can dip in.
Right, right.
You don't want to be scared to use your reserve.
Exactly.
We used the reserves 8, 9, 10, 11, because we knew at some point you're going to
Yeah.
hit the bottom and build back
Sure.
up. And we got dangerously low, but we used reserves, and they're building back up.
I just
So
want to make sure we
Right.
can. It's not,
Right.
Right.
that's locked in
Right.
Fort Knox and we never touch it, but
Oh.
we're very proud we've got these big
Yeah, no.
reserves.
Well,
That's foolishness.
You save
No,
it,
but
you
even-
don't use it.
Even in
You
those
don't
lean
operate.
times, there was a
Exactly.
base that we said, whoa, we just really
Yeah, I
can't
know.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a bit, there was a floor in there,
Yeah,
yeah.
we've got to have a
And
little
you-
bit of a
But I
safety.
don't want
Yeah.
the floor at 16%.
Right.
Yeah.
Never touch it.
Right, well, you want to have something available so that when unforeseen things happen, you don't have to have a really high spike in your property taxes or
Right.
anything like to
Exactly.
compensate for that, so.
Yeah, that's a lot. Sounds good.
So if you have any other questions?
Any other questions? Thank you so much. Okay, next item is the proposed economic development policy.
Want Taylor handle this one?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. Just over a month ago, on January 17th, I brought this Economic Development Incentives Policy proposal to you. I have not made any changes to it. From what I've heard, all positive feedback so far from everyone that's taken a look at it. Basically, this policy will give us a plan that would allow both business owners, developers, and staff to recommend an appropriate amount of incentives for certain projects, whether it's a redevelopment site or a new site, to look at putting something in.
To me, it looks like it makes it more fair for everybody when you're going out and
Right.
talking to different people, you're treating one business the same way as you're treating another business.
Compare apples to apples. definitely.
Exactly, yeah.
And we'd also be safeguarding the residents of Leavenworth's tax dollars, because we'd be making sure we're getting the 1.3 to 1 return on the investment.
With the caveat that the commission can't override that at any time, because sometimes you need to, depending on the nature of the business or the development. So the commission obviously has ultimate authority over what we do.
Right, and a great example of that would be some kind of senior living facility, quality of life type items.
So if there's
That's
no
great.
questions, or if there's a consensus, it'll come for formal adoption at the next commission meeting.
Yeah.
We can
Sounds
use it
good.
immediately.
No,
Sounds good to me.
Go
Okay.
forward,
We'll
yeah.
start using it
Start
right after
using
that.
it.
Yeah.
I think it's great, thank you.
Yeah,
so much
hopefully
for all
it'll
your
beat a
hard
path to your door here, too.
Yeah.
work. Yeah. Okay, last item on the agenda, review the annual stormwater report.
Mike McDonald, our Public Works Director.
Stormwater. Madam Mayor and Commissioners, this is another in our ongoing study session, looks at the annual stormwater report for 2016. This is a report that is required to be submitted to KDHE and EPA each year for the previous calendar year. Talks about what we thought we were going to do and what we actually accomplished. We've been compiling the report, and it gets longer and longer, but I wanted to review a couple of key sections with the commission, and they're similar to what we've done in past years, but there are some highlights. In addition to that, I would ask you if you have questions or comments now or in the next week, kindly get them to city manager, myself, or Mike Cooper, and we can answer your questions, or there may be something that we've overlooked or that you would like to see better described in the report.
Okay.
The key things tonight are the executive summary and what they called Section F, which is kind of a narrative of all of this. And you may recall that there are kind of 6 broad categories that the state requires you to respond to, and you'll see them throughout the report. Things like public education, construction site runoff, illicit discharge, and that sort of thing. So going on to page 61, which is the executive summary. This is, they've asked that we try to keep it to 2 pages, but it magically is migrated to 2.5. But with the exciting things that we're doing, and I think it reads reasonably well, and wanted to highlight the important steps that the city took in the last year, primarily with the pursuing the land disturbance permit, erosion permits, and the city commission adopting the fine and fee structure late in the year last year. You'll see that mentioned several times through here. The water quality sampling that we do, we are required to sample at least 4 storms each year, 2 before July 1st and 2 after. This 2016 was our 3rd year, and in general, water quality does not get better as it runs through Leavenworth. There are individual storms where it may, but in a broad sense, it does not. And water quality decreases more substantially for water in 3 Mile Creek than it does in 5 Mile Creek. And
So you're saying as it goes through Leavenworth, you're testing it at different points?
we test it where
And
it
it's
comes into
picking
the
up
pollutants
some way.
within the city. And
need to
we
clean up
test
our city.
the end result of all of this testing is going to be some sort of program from the state to help us, I'm sure.
Okay.
And
Look out for the dollars.
Yeah, really.
and they look at things like your total suspended solids, your nitrogen levels, and your phosphorus levels. They're all somewhat interrelated. And so in the report, I thought I had put the table in here, but I did not see it as I flipped through this, but there's a data summary that shows the level of total suspended solids and those other items as it enters the city. The 2 locations we test for that are on 3 Mile Creek on 20th Street up by Benny's Tavern, and on 5 Mile Creek, the pedestrian bridge on Candlewood Street at 5 Mile Creek, and then we test as it leaves the city at the mouth of 3 Mile Creek and the mouth of 5 Mile Creek. So we can show that some storms things get better, because I think a lot of stuff floats in from the county, and by the time we add our water to it, it's cleaner, but not every storm, and in a very broad sense, we show the state that it doesn't. So you will probably see some statewide action coming in this in the next 5 years. Even with changes in Washington, I don't think the program will fundamentally change, that they're attempting to improve water quality on streams such as 3 Mile Creek and 5 Mile Creek. So there'll be a little table of that information, and it's the sort of thing that we do try to address in our rules with sedimentation traps and detention basins and stuff, so the pollutants get a chance to be degraded by natural forces before they enter the rivers. Talk about upgrading some of our best management practices, which is things that we require developers and others to do. We are probably going to look in the next couple of years of increasing our level of expectations of both our own projects and others. Talk about what we do require, which is fairly basic. We're supposed to identify things that are concerns. Homeowners associations, I think we've talked about that a couple of times, where they have detention ponds and they don't have a homeowners association, so the pond is there. We've been working with city attorney and other communities. How do you try to solve that problem? We don't have a good answer, but I think we're moving toward that. And it's also, maintenance of these ponds is important to their own, typically ours are flood related as much as they are water quality. And if they're full of silt and debris, they don't do a very good job of flood control for their own communities. We've had a pretty effective detention basin outreach program. That being said, with the homeowners associations have very good attendance at that, and we're going to continue that. Our grease trap program, I think, is going very, very well. And our outreach, our public information officer, Melissa, has done a really good job of reaching out with things that happen and promoting water activities. So,
Would you explain to me this one paragraph on special environmental project from Ottawa
yes.
and 7, explain what you mean by that?
Right. As part of our settlement with the EPA, we're required to construct something that they've titled a special environmental project. And that is a project that is used to illustrate, demonstrate, or build a substantial environmental statement, if you will. And that is the storm sewer project that is currently about halfway done. The storm sewer pipe has been installed. Kind of the environmental part of this is 2 parts. One is in the large grassy areas, we are going to be burying a mix of sand and mulch that will act as like an infiltration center for the water that accumulates in those blocks. Will filter down through that, which traps the nutrients, and then the microbiological processes degrade the nitrogen and phosphorus. And then the water, as it filters through there, goes into the storm sewer. And additionally, there are a series of stormwater inlets where the water that runs in off the street, it kind of pulls out in a small pond behind the curb for, essentially you're after the small storms, because that's where their most polluted runoff is the small storms. And it's for the silt and the debris and the trash and other contaminants. They'll fall out in this area that has plantings of things that work to biodegrade that. In all likelihood, they're going to function as trash collectors too, which means we're going to have to go by and pull the trash out and such. We have not built the inlets yet because they're somewhat problematic. It's a little more difficult than we had expected to physically construct them between the curb and the sidewalk and the storm sewer pipe. And we're working on that. In the event there are some that we cannot construct, we have plenty of other places that we can build these inlets to meet our goal with the EPA for the special environmental project.
Okay, thank you. That's it. That street, have you driven down there lately? Did you notice is the street falling in, or what is happening there?
No, they are, that's a temporary patch to get through the winter. There's a big sign that says bump.
I know.
And
Just about broke my car.
Ottawa.
It's on Ottawa between 7th and
Broadway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, definitely did.
They are restarting that, I believe, March 1st. They may have actually started to move some equipment back in already to get back on that.
So this is basically being the creek underneath all of that?
Right, that's nature of storm sewer systems. At some point, the city has taken the creeks and converted them to lined pipes of some sort.
Right. Great, okay.
So this is the draft of the executive summary. I'm going to see if it's too long, but I don't think it is. Then I've got some notes. We tried to do a little paragraph on each one of these little pigeonholes on the next sheets of the different things we're involved in. I have information for most of those, and I can get it for the rest, so it's going to be busy to put this together. But these are the sort of things that we have told the state and federal government that we'll be doing. We should do as best we can to do them. One of the things they asked for is, have you adopted new ordinances? And the answer in this case is yes, and so we'll make sure to send them a copy of what we did. And you can read through even more of this until you get to section F, which is the other kind of long narrative portion of the report, which is a general assessment of how things are going. It's kind of an enhanced executive summary, I think, and it gives you the opportunity. There's no guidelines for length. So tried to take each of these 6 key areas and identify what seems to be working and not working, and things that we've learned. Mention everything from Adopt a Tree programs to Arbor Day, the spring citywide cleanup, how many people are involved. Talk a little bit more in detail about the grease trap program and the detention basin program. Another thing that we've really beefed up this last year was our creek crossing program, where I think it's 3 times a year, actually 4 times a year, and some of them get rotated, some of them get inspected every time. There's like 100 and something crossings that we've identified as we should inspect. Like 5 years ago, it was like 12. We've realized the types of problems that we run into can be best detected if you get out, find a way to get to these hard to reach locations and look. And that inspection effort has paid off. A couple little things this year that we're working to fix right now. Grease trap programs has been fairly entertaining because it's kind of shocking who ought to have them and doesn't. It's been pretty good compliance. There's been a few educational opportunities along the way, and we're going to continue that program. I expect we'll bring some requests for further regulations on grease trap maintenance to the City Commission, because basically we do ask the grease trap owners to provide us a copy of their maintenance record. What day did they remove the grease from the grease trap? Calendar, check the day or put your initials in it. Well, we get them come back in and they've checked pretty much the same day in every month, whether it's a Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. We've had them checked February 31st. I mean, it's... So
filled out the report, though.
We know that goes on.
Yeah.
And so we've realized that, and it better, and in every case, we've called them back up and said, this is actually important. You shouldn't tell us something you didn't do. We'd like to know what you did do. And it's been an opportunity. I think our erosion from construction sites is much better than it was in the past, and we talked about that. Another thing that we're doing is trying to inspect city facilities to identify any problems or opportunities. I think we're committed to at least 2 inspections of facilities per year. Mike and I did that late in the year last year. We found some things that needed some maintenance for berms that had eroded, as well as such things as the library parking lot. If we were want to try to do a water quality project in parking lots, that's a perfect parking lot for it, the way it's laid out. You've got nice grade, and it all ends up on a curb. You can control where the water goes. So we have identified that as a possible future project that we could do. Effectiveness of our best management practices, that's really hard to quantify. It's a very short section. Then I talk about here's kind of the summary of the water quality data. This little set of tables here on page 80 kind of shows, my very simplistic look at this was identified the things I know that the state is really interested in, and was the water coming through town better or worse for each pair of measurements, and no change or better is in one column and worse is in another column, and I just add them up. Okay. And 2014 was a pretty good year because water was cleaner leaving the city than it was coming in. 2016, it was not.
Yeah.
But this is the very simple thing. I have no idea if it has any scientific meaning what I've done, and no one has told me that I'm doing it wrong. So
It's interesting anyway. It's good to have
it is interesting. And then there's a little more detail if you're really interested in the larger table. We've identified some changes that we may be attempting to do in 2017 is revising the management plan and the guidelines documents, try to get a better handle on detention basin performance, look at increasing our best management practices from very, very simplistic to perhaps more in line with the other communities in the area, and try to do some more outreach with the citizen groups on cleaning up some odd situations. And that's listed here on page 81. And for the most part, I believe that concludes everything. Somebody gets to sign it, usually the city manager and I have that discussion, and depending on how they feel, one of us will sign it.
I just have a question. It's not directly related to this, but the leaf pickup in the fall. Is that always going to be, I mean, to me, I don't know how y'all feel about this. I mean, I like the leaf pickup, but they always come through before the leaves fall. And I wondered
They
if.
make a double pass, though. They pick that quadrant, that half the city. They start like November 1st.
Yeah, when there's no leaves.
Yeah,
down.
November 1st or 5th, that first full Monday, they make a pass, then they come back and do it again,
We never
as
know.
time permits.
Yeah, we never know when or whether they're going to come back, though.
They'll always
I mean,
come
the
back
very
multiple
first
times.
Yeah.
Does the very first one need to be that early?
As soon as we change it, the leaves will all fall down and we will be ready
It
to.
was as early as October 15th, and
Yeah.
we didn't move it to like November 5th or something
Yeah.
like that.
Leaf
Yeah.
pickup was very important to the commission when we set that up, so we
I
wanted.
like it, but I
we
just
wanted-
think.
I
Pick
think it's
this-
one of those things that you cannot manage the expectations. That's
No.
from the
I
very
guess.
beginning. And I know everyone here disagrees with me,
Yeah,
but
no,
Mr. Dedeke and
honestly,
I have.
yeah.
We've,
In my yard alone, I have a tree that sheds its leaf in August, for heaven's sakes. And then,
called city.
yeah, that's the
Yeah, I
earliest
guess it
one.
depends on what kind of tree.
Yeah, and it
too,
is,
because-
and the very last one
folks
where my
come
leaves
down
are
in
now,
December,
it's an
so.
oak tree, and it doesn't do it until December.
Yeah.
And by then, it's like, it's too cold to go out there and do it. Yeah, so it's like,
Yeah,
that's what
it's-
makes it difficult.
It's an arbitrary start date.
Yeah.
My staff would like me to change it to later. I said, if you go out there on November 1st and show that you're ready to pick up leaves, I will rest happy knowing that we can pick them up if and when they show up, be it tomorrow or the week after or the week after
Yeah,
that.
so it's
And so
fine.
that's what we strive for.
Yeah.
How's the equipment holding up, Mike?
Speaking of CIP, it is, we have worn the heck out of them, so to speak, and we've had some maintenance issues the last 2 years, fairly substantial, and they are supposed to be bringing back for CIP submittal new and improved leaf machines, learning from what we've learned of what breaks on these. After there's about starting the third year, you start to see some wear and tear.
Thank you. Any other questions of Mr. McDonald? Okay.
No,
Thank you so much.
it's an education.
Any other issues that the commission would like to discuss, or city manager?
I have one for Paul, if he's heard anything, because every place I go, I get questioned. Have we heard anything on the casino?
We have not at the
It's a
city
no.
level.
That's what I've been telling them.
I think I can speak to that a little bit because I was involved in a lot of those meetings.
I don't think it's ever gonna happen, personally.
The group that brought it from that particular tribe were all voted out of office at their tribal election. That was the peanut that they were pushing. And they wanted, first they had to move their tribal headquarters out of Bartlesville. They're under the auspices of the Cherokee Nation, and they're the Delaware Nation. They had to get approval from Bureau of Indian Affairs and the Cherokees to move their tribal headquarters to this area. This is their ancestral grounds. They hadn't done that, and there was all kinds of things. And then that group, they have elections, your chief, your tribal council, they do it just democratically, and they all got voted out of office, and I have not heard from them since.
I haven't heard
Yeah,
anything.
yeah, so I did see a truckload of slot machines coming in town. Make sure you get that.
No, there's rumors. There's rumors that it's definitely going to come. There's rumors that it's not, and there's rumors that
No, it's,
the corner was built there because the casino was coming in. That's the big rumor.
Oh, as soon as Brown was broke, I caught that.
Yeah.
Finally put in the casino.
no, it's.
The corner is
Yeah,
for the
people say
truck
something,
traffic and
it's-
for traffic.
Not personal.
Okay, any other?
One
issues
quick
tonight?
thing, the mayor and I and City Manager Kramer were honored to go out to the VA last week in the National Salute to Hospitalized Veterans. I think it's the 8th year I've done that, and it's always an honor and proud to do it. And it was toured the hospital, visited some hospitalized patients in the geriatric center, and then had a tour. I know you had to leave, went to the domiciliary, and big impact on the community for employees, and, you know, it's good to see a lot of veterans that are hospitalized there. I know they appreciate it, that we come out there once a year. It's always during Valentine's week.
And the common theme seems to be that they've all been to many VA centers, and ours is the best as far as medical care.
Keep saying that, yes.
Yeah,
Keep hearing
it's a
that too.
common, every year I hear that, so.
Mhm. Yeah, I was very honored to go this year. I'd like to go again. I like that. Anything else? If not.
How was the prayer breakfast? Tell us about that.
Oh, well, when Chief Kitchens left, yeah. No, it was very nice, and I don't know why I was asked, but I was asked to do the benediction. And so I got to meet Mayor Sly James afterwards, and we had a nice visit. And it was just a really very meaningful event. Law enforcement were represented there. It was the police chief and the mayor from something like 30 different communities around Kansas City area, and it really was a nice event. And this has been their 56th year, so they do this every year.
Yeah, it's a nice event.
I don't know if some of the others might have gone, but it was really very, very nice. So that's it. Anything else? If not, we are adjourned.